Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services here this morning, we would kindly ask everyone to please turn off or silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
I have learned that in times of separation and loss and sorrow, the Psalms can bring much comfort and solace. And in this spirit, I now recite from the 23rd Psalm, which is a great psalm of faith. And Judy was a person of great faith. And these verses remind us that even when we feel alone or lonely, we are never truly alone, for God is with us. And we know that God is with Judy and with Richard. You may join me if you wish. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I continue with a more modern-day poem, which we read at our synagogue from time to time, especially during the High Holy Days. Judy would be very familiar with this poem. I think she liked it. Otherwise, she would have told me otherwise. I'd like to personalize it for her. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we will remember Judy. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember Judy. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we will remember her. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember Granny. At the beginning of the year, and when it ends, we will remember her. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have joy we crave to share, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have achievements that are based on hers, we will remember her. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. We may not all know one another, although I think we do. And yet we all feel connected by our love, respect, and admiration for Judy, for Granny, myself included. On a personal note, our family bonded with Judy and Richard on our congregational Israel trip in 1990. Over the years, we shared holiday dinners together. and Judy was especially close with Peggy's mom and dad, Ann and Fred. To know Judy was and is to love her. And everybody did. She was bright. Even more than bright, she was wise and insightful. She was interested in everything and everyone and always positive. We realize how much she taught us in terms of her giving and caring and loving. She had so much heart and was young-hearted, always. She also was an organizer, a planner, a doer. She kept it all recorded in her little black book. She had a whole collection of little black books. That is why our shared loss is sad, and it's difficult, and it's profound, because Judy was such a constant in your lives, always present, always there for you and for others. She was ready to offer assistance, to give sound advice, to show care and concern and compassion. Indeed, the greatest joy in life is to be able to say, I still have something to do. I want to accomplish yet more. And so she did. At age 91, she decided, I'm moving out of Lionsgate to Atlanta. No? Nobody, oh, right, nobody moves out of Lionsgate to go to Atlanta. She did it because she wanted to. Well, she did it also to be close to family, especially. So I believe Judy might say to us right now, she might say, thank you for being here to support and bring comfort to my family and to help tell my good story. And then she might say, don't mourn for me, for I did not lead a mournful life. And you know, in the balance, she certainly did not. She led a full, fulfilling, vital, vibrant, purposeful, and good life. Early on, Judy aspired to be a nurse, although her father discouraged her, saying that nursing is not a profession for a nice Jewish girl. As fate would have it, she did work in a doctor's office and was medically astute. She also obtained a real estate license, and for many years she worked side by side with Richard as the office manager for his commercial fire alarm business. She was the boss. And whatever Judy did, which is so much, a great deal, she always accomplished it fully, with a full heart, a lot of love, and joy. As you know, Judy cared about her appearance. She was always well put together. Hair done, makeup on, stylishly dressed, and yet her focus was on you. Family, friends, community, causes, philanthropy, helping others, making a difference. And she did. Yes, she loved travel. All of her travels were documented with photo albums and detailed descriptions. She loved all animals, skiing, but most of all, it was all about you, family, keeping family together, keeping in touch, living for the next family simcha. Yet one cannot speak of Judy alone without also speaking of Richard. So I'm going to share the love story. In Judy's words, she wrote it and gave it to me. Did you know that? You didn't know that? Oh. I'm not changing a word, okay? When I met Dick Frankenstein at the Phi Epsilon Pi fraternity house, I was just 15. He was the roommate of the guy who gave all the parties, so most of the girls I knew him and his roomie, Jay Benneman. After World War II, when returning veterans competed with high school graduates for admissions to colleges and universities, especially the Ivy League universities, it was time for higher education, but also time to have fun at the same time. College, social life consisted of football weekends, fraternities, sororities, and big band dances. During the next 3 or 4 years, I was dating others and went out exclusively with one of his fraternity brothers for a couple of those years. He too dated others. Do you know this? Oh, okay. But we got to know each other and often danced together. He was a great dancer and went out in groups for dinner as couples. I liked him as a friend, thought he was cute, enjoyed dancing with him, but he never, and this is caps, underlined, he never asked me out on a date. The last big dance of his senior year, the Ivy Ball, was prior to graduation. He had a girlfriend from the South and bought 2 tickets intending to take her. Weeks later, they broke up and he was stuck with 2 tickets. He decided to ask someone else to go with him to the dance, a local girl who he would have fun with, but since he was leaving Philadelphia, he didn't want to get involved in a romance. He asked one of my friends, Dean Silverman, but she was already tied up that week. And then he called me, and I was available. He was honest with me and told me the whole story, even that I was his second choice as a replacement. I appreciated his honesty, and we went to the ball, and we danced, and I truly think we both fell in love at the same time. I never went out with anyone else after that Saturday night, and neither did he. His mother and sister Sue came in for his graduation, so I got to meet his entire family. My mother was having a luncheon at our house for my brother Roy's wife, Bobby, who graduated in the same class at Penn. Through me, my mom asked the 3 Frankensteins if they would like to join us, and they did. That was May of 1950. We were engaged by September and married the following June, right after my graduation, 68 and a half years ago, when she wrote this. And I would say that over their 68 and a half years, they evolved into a real team, a true partnership, best friends, soulmates. They were there for one another in the good times, so many good times, and they were there for one another in the challenging times, and there were those as well. And how Judy loved all of you. You don't have to raise your hand if you're here. Okay, but Mark and Teresa, Josie and Perry. Grandchildren, Patrice and Avi. Brittany and Brett. Eve and Boris. Olivia, Amelia. Great-grandchildren, Emma, Max, Allie, Bennett, Bailey. Did I call everyone's name? Okay. Oh, she would be so proud that you are here today. Because Granny was so proud of all of you, she was proud of your accomplishments and prouder yet of the bright, sensitive, and caring family that you all are. However, I believe that one can best understand and appreciate a person by the way in which one copes with the adversity and the setback and the disappointment, illness, loss. 25 years ago, Judy was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. She fought her illness with strength, courage, and determination. As always, she remained proactive, doing her research, seeking treatment, funding research, remaining positive, giving back, and always finding something to live for. And Judy died. She knew that the end was near, but she died knowing that she helped to raise, teach, guide, inspire children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, who in turn have so much to offer to others. You are her and their precious legacy. She loved, she was loved in turn, and we know that this love has not ended now with her passing. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. And to keep those memories going, I'm going to first call on Josie.
Okay, I'm Judy's daughter. Thank you all for coming. It shows how much you all cared, or those people who are watching on virtual, I'm waving to them. Some of them are in Atlanta, some are all over, some in Colorado, everywhere. If you knew my mom, you already knew she was positive, nurturing, and an absolute doer. Sounds like exactly what you said, so no one's telling a story. If something needed to be handled, she handled it. No drama, no fuss, just quietly done. And she was organized, extremely organized. I'm not kidding. If there was an Olympic event for packing, labeling, and making lists, as we were cleaning out her apartment, we could definitely vouch for that. She'd have gotten a gold medal. When she planned a vacation, she didn't just make a packing list. In fact, about a month before, she would completely pack her suitcase just to make sure everything fit. Then she would unpack it and put it all away again. I do it the night before, and that's it. And I'm lucky to stay up. I said, who does that? And she really did do that, because I've seen her do it. That was her version of relaxing. But anyways, honestly, she planned her life the same way. Even at the end, she made sure everything was thought through. She didn't leave any chaos. She left things in order. To her, that felt exactly right. Ooh. She lived almost all of her 94 years in the Northeast, about 92 of them around Philadelphia, South Jersey. Philadelphia was her home. That's where she built her life. Years ago, I moved to Atlanta because the cold weather was affecting my circulation. I always hoped she would move to Atlanta to be near me, her grandchildren, and later her great-grandchildren. But she wouldn't. Until one night, she calls me and says, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "Why? Are you going to tell me something awful?" "No, of course." I thought it was something wrong. She said, "No, you're going to be so happy when you hear this." And then she said, "I've decided to spend the rest of my life with you and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren in Atlanta." After 92 years up north, she just decided. And when my mom decided something, that was it. It was planned. It was organized. It was happening. Totally unbelievable. What 92-year-old does that? Unbelievable. Anyways, she loved puzzles. She loved reading. She kept her mind sharp, and she was never afraid of technology. She loved her Apple products. If it didn't have an apple on it, she didn't want it. Sorry, Peter. And she called, this is actually the truth, she called customer service a lot. She was one of these Apple customers that would always sign up for the one-on-one classes, and she was the person in there doing them, and she took all the classes, but she called them a lot. So much calling customer service that the family joke was when she called Apple or Quicken, they would say, "Oh, hi, Judy, what's your problem today?" And it's the truth. And she really wasn't intimidated. She always figured things out. She didn't really ask for help. She just did it on her own. Okay, and then was her skin. Her peaches and cream, beautiful skin. Everyone always admired my mom's skin. And they told me often, people would come up to me and say, "How does she not have any wrinkles?" She truly has none. 0, we checked, and it's the truth. At 94. I'm 69, and as a matter of fact, I never really thought about how old she was in relation to me. I subtracted, and I was like, wow, 25 years. So it's 25, I'm 25 years younger, and I have more wrinkles than she did. People would say we look like sisters, and I don't think that was a compliment for me. It was definitely not about me. Then later in life, she was diagnosed with, and those people who are medical might understand this, but others won't, retinal folds. What's that? I looked at her and I said, "I knew you had wrinkles somewhere. They were in the retina. They were just hidden." And as we were talking, my mom was always positive, never complained. She was sweet as sugar. That's what everybody used to call her, sweet as sugar. Even her caregivers adored her, even the ones that she was down in Atlanta for maybe a year and a half or a year and 3/4. They adored her. And she giggled all the time, right up to her last day on this earth. We have such cute videos of those moments where she's laughing and just giggling. And so you might say, "Why are you not sad?" I guess I can't believe that my mom passed away. I'm going to miss her, but she just brought so much joy. Okay, so I think I lost a page here. Okay, she kept our family together. When her brothers disagreed, and they definitely could, she was the steady one. She didn't take sides. She kept people connected. She never held grudges or wouldn't talk to people, never. And every single niece, and those are our nephew that's in this room could say, she got a birthday card from her every single year, consistently, without fail. She had a whole system set up so that every month she would go out and buy cards, and it would be on the envelopes. And she actually called or sent an email out, I think, to apologize. I won't be sending the letters anymore. I think she maybe did it electronically for a little bit, and then she slowed down a little bit. Anyways, that wasn't accidental. That was her way of saying, we're family, we stay connected. She loved her children, she loved her grandchildren, and she adored her 5 great-grandchildren. But she didn't just love us, she held us together, she nurtured us, she cared for us. We would go to visit her, but she was trying to figure out what she could do for us. That's the way she was. I am so, so grateful she decided to spend her final years in Atlanta. Those years were absolutely a gift. My mom showed me that you can be strong without being loud. I guess I didn't learn that trait from her. that keeping a family together is very important. And if there is a customer service line in heaven, I promise you they already know her name. Hi, Judy, what's your question today? Mom, thank you for taking care of all of us the way you always did. We are so lucky. You are ours and you were ours. We love you always. Thank you.
I'm going to call on Amelia now.
There we go. As I sat down to write this, I felt truly plagued by my pen. How could I possibly encapsulate the absolutely enchanting, poised, elegant, and warm woman that Granny was in just a few minutes and a few hundred words? I'll never forget the first time Olivia and I met her. She greeted us not only with her bright, welcoming smile and open-hearted embrace, but also with a miniature pumpkin painting kit. Sorry. From that very moment, Granny showed me her endless capacity for love. But that's the thing about Granny. Her unconditional and unwavering devotion to the people she loved knew no bounds. From weekly Sunday dinners where Mom and Dad would cook, but Granny always ensured the night would end with a sweet treat, to endless hours of rummy cube and cards, Granny had a way of making every moment feel special, comfortable, and full of laughter. I often wish I'd had the chance to know her in her younger years, as many of you here may have. But getting to know the stylish, put together, and beautifully wise woman that she was nearly as remarkable. Even in her later years, Granny exuded grace, not just in her appearance and fun outfits, but in the way she cared, listened, and loved without hesitation. On my flight home this morning, I was reading through my old text messages with her. And while I may not get to FaceTime her after exciting news continues to drop, I know her spirit is still with all of us, cheering us on in quiet and gentle ways. May her joyful energy, quiet strength, her kindness, and her unshakable love continue to inspire us all. May we carry a little bit of her grace and compassion with us wherever we go. Granny, thank you for teaching us that kindness is power, that elegance lives in generosity, and that love, in all the small, quiet ways you showed it, lasts far beyond a lifetime. For my closing remarks, I'd like to offer a few words of parting to Granny, derived from an old Irish blessing, in part from all of my family. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you.
I'd like to call on Patrice.
Today, we celebrate 94 glorious years of a woman who truly lived life to the fullest. Granny didn't just live. She leaned into life with her whole heart. She loved deeply and fiercely, gave generously, planned thoughtfully, and traveled boldly. She stayed curious. She stayed engaged. She celebrated often. She didn't wait for life to happen. She created it, documented it, gathered people around it, and treasured every single moment along the way. I was her very first grandchild, the one who made her Granny. And that title was one she wore with pride and joy. Being a grandmother wasn't just something she did, it was who she was. Granny believed in adventure. She and Poppy didn't just travel the world, they brought us into it. One of the most special memories was when they took me to New York City when I was 11 years old. Just the three of us. I felt so grown up, so loved, so chosen. That trip wasn't just sightseeing, it was bonding, it was laughter, it was feeling incredibly special. That was Granny. She made you feel like the most important person in the world. They traveled everywhere, and she documented it all. Granny was the most organized person I've ever known, and also one of the most sentimental. She kept every letter Poppy wrote her when he was in the Air Force, every word, every page, because love to her was something you honored and preserved. She made photo albums of every country they visited, carefully labeled, beautifully arranged, because she understood that memories deserved a home. She preserved those moments with intention, making sure the stories of their adventures would live on for generations. And for someone so sentimental, she was also incredibly high-tech. Granny loved Apple products. She would take classes just to keep up with the latest technology. Long before Apple was what it is today, she and Poppy seemed to be among the first to have a Macintosh computer. She was curious. She wanted to learn. She wanted to stay current. She loved watching the news and staying up to date on everything happening in the world. Politics, current events, she followed it all. She and my dad would have thoughtful conversations about whatever was happening at the time. She wasn't just living in her memories. She was fully engaged in the present. Granny was also just fun. She loved to play games. She didn't just play, she came to win. Corkle, Settlers of Catan, Rummikub, geography games, dominoes. She was sharp, competitive, and completely engaged. She loved the challenge, the strategy, the thrill of figuring it out, and whenever it was her turn, she'd raise her hand slightly and say, "Hold it," as she studied the board, fully focused, calculating her next move. There was a spark in her when she played, quick, determined, and just a little mischievous. She was fun, spirited, and always ready for the next round. She also loved a good party, and not just attending them, planning them. Over the years, Granny planned so many celebrations. If there was even the smallest reason to gather, she found it. And if there wasn't one, she created it. When I was born, she threw a party. When each of my children were born, she threw a party. Milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, achievements, Granny believed life's moments deserved to be celebrated. She didn't just wait for big occasions. She understood that the joy was in marking the moment. She knew that when we gather together, when we pause and celebrate, those are the memories that last. Granny didn't just attend life celebrations. She created them. Family was everything to her. She was so proud of her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren brought her immeasurable joy. Emma, Max, Allie, Bennett, and Bailey. Watching the next generations grow filled her heart in a way nothing else could. How special that Allie shares her birthday, 89 years apart. That symmetry of life delighted her. She never imagined she would live so long. And yet, what a gift those years were. What a blessing that she spent her final chapter at Lionsgate, surrounded by community and friendship, in her last 2 years in Atlanta, and got to go to Big Canoe, close to family and wrapped in love. And one of the deepest threads woven through Granny's life was giving. Philanthropy wasn't something she did occasionally. It was part of who she was. She was a proud Lion of Judah, and she carried that commitment with dignity and purpose. She believed in supporting Jewish life, in strengthening community, in making sure the next generation would stand on solid ground. Her commitment wasn't just personal, it was generational. The Klein family has been giving for 4 generations, and Granny was a powerful part of that legacy. She believed that generosity should not be hidden. It should be modeled. It should inspire. She wanted her children and grandchildren to see it, to understand that when you are blessed, you bless others. She supported causes close to her heart, including Lionsgate, where she found not just a home, but a vibrant community. Even there, she stayed involved, forming friendships, participating, showing up. She didn't retreat from life. She leaned into it. She believed generosity should ripple outward. She believed we each have a responsibility to lift others up. And if you knew Granny, she would never just sit still, ever. She always had something going on, a place to be, a project to finish, a drawer to organize, a list to check off. She loved being busy. It kept her sharp. It kept her engaged. It kept her with it. She didn't believe in slowing down just because the calendar said that she should. She stayed involved in life, and I really think that's part of why she lived 94 such full, vibrant years. 94 glorious years. What a life. What a legacy. Granny, thank you for showing us how to live fully. Thank you for showing us how to love deeply. Thank you for teaching us that family is the greatest adventure of all. Thank you for teaching us that when we are blessed, we give. We will carry your stories. We will keep playing the games. We will stay curious. We will celebrate everything. We will give generously, and we will live boldly, just like you did. I love you, Granny, always. You showed us how to live, and that will be your greatest legacy.
I'd like to call on Peggy Mandel.
Good morning, everyone. I am indeed Peggy Mandel. And I believe this is Rabbi David. Nice to meet you. Thank you for calling me up. I am the eldest of Judy's nieces and nephews on the Klein side of the family. There are 8 of us, and we are the children of Judy's 2 older brothers who indeed were not always the best of friends. But we cousins, are the best of friends. Which just goes to show you what intergenerational change can bring. I am so honored to be up here following Patrice and Amelia and Josie. And Rabbi David, thank you for your gorgeous words about our beloved aunt. So yes, I'm standing in here for the nieces and nephews, and for one in particular who would have given anything to be here, Sally Klein-Katz, who I know is watching from Jerusalem. Hello, Sally. And Sally has honored me with a request. This came seconds after Judy died. I heard from Sally, and she said, please read this. And so I shall. Little Judy, as you were called, once my mother, Big Judy, joined the family. You were one of the dearest, kindest, most generous, most adorable, and wisest people I knew. You took great pride in your children, Mark and Josie, Teresa and Perry. And you were very grateful for how lovingly attentive the four of them have been to you in your later years, and also toward your precious Richard of blessed memory. Your 5 granddaughters, Patrice, Brittany, Evie, Amelia, and Olivia, were all sources of extraordinary pride and joy. In our weekly telephone visits over the past 10 years, you would always review and update me on what each of them was doing and their accomplishments. This included your 3 grandsons-in-law, Avi, Brett, and Boris. They all gave you such joy. And of course, the great grands, as you called them, Emma, Max, Allie, Bennett, and Bailey, each of them brought the brightest smile, shining your pride and love. You did take great pride in being the first of the family to meet little Bailey, as Josie and Perry were locked up with COVID, and you ran to the hospital to embrace Brittany and hold Bailey. Brittany's beaming down there right now. Just want you to know, Sally, Brittany is beaming. There are many lessons you have taught all of us. A significant one for me is you have to take the bitter with the better. It is a lesson that you learned through different challenging periods of your life, and one that you held on to very closely. So very wise you were. Aunt Judy, we never had to do math when it came to years and our ages, because we were 20 years apart and married 20 years apart. I laughed when you would tell people how Sally was at my wedding, leaving out that I was to be born 2 weeks later. That was you, a very important keeper of family history. Along with me, Michael, Yavin, Matan, and Sarai have all felt your love and support. The countless memories are treasured, including your coming to Jerusalem for Matan's bar mitzvah, and the many birthday parties you made for Sarai at Lionsgate around your table, including Minnie, woof woof, and the many telephone conversations you had with Yavin in recent years. It meant the world to Matan and Sarai to get to speak with you last week, thanks to Cousin Peggy and her iPhone. You and Sarai actually had a conversation. At the end of each of our calls, you would always say to me, "I love you more," in response to my telling you how much I love you. Well, Aunt Judy, I truly do love you more. And that is from Cousin Sally. So it's a big responsibility to represent 8 nieces and nephews, 4 of whom are sitting right here, and 4 of whom I know are watching on this wonderful live stream. Within seconds of the news of Judy's passing, her eldest of us, Billy, fired off a text to everyone saying, "She was the smartest and most beautiful of all the Kleins." No one would dispute that, Billy. And I love the succinctness and the clarity and the truth in your words. Actually, it was Judy who said, just prior to her beloved Richard's 90th birthday, she said, "I hate it that we have to wait until our funerals to hear people say nice things about us. So I'm going to do something about that. And she threw the 90th birthday party to end all 90th birthday parties for Richard at Lionsgate. Everyone was there, including all of Lionsgate and all of us. And boy, did we say nice things about Richard. A few years later, she had the 90th birthday party to end all 90th birthday parties. We were there. And yes, we got to say beautiful things about her again, and she heard them. So here we are. At that moment, nobody wanted to come to happen. That happens for all of us, even Aunt Judy, as impossible as that is to believe. But my husband, John, reminds me often that if you don't go to other people's funerals, they won't come to yours. So, Aunt Judy, here we are. Smartest and most beautiful, so much has already been said by everyone about that steel-trap mind of her and her physical beauty. But here are two things about that smartness and that beauty, which have also been alluded to by everyone here. Her true beauty was and always will be her soul, in addition to that peaches and cream complexion that we all envied to the end. Her beautiful, beautiful soul that lives in us. And about being smart, steel trap intellect, insatiable curiosity, everyone's already told us about that. But the thing about Judy is she wasn't like Gladstone, who always left you with the impression that he was the smartest person in the world. She was like Disraeli, who always left you with the impression that you were the smartest person in the room. And my final personal reflection for Judy is that 2 years ago, when I so improbably finally wrote my first book, a memoir based on 1,000 love letters to my recently deceased husband, Herb, Judy was actually the first person to read my book. Josie was the second. Judy, upon reading my book, immediately purchases, dozens of copies and starts giving them out to her friends at Lionsgate and books me for a book talk and a reading. And Lionsgate, she books the auditorium, she sets up the event, she has flyers printed. I didn't ask for this, but she became my agent. Talk about organized. So I show up for this reading, the auditorium is packed with her friends. And then, when she also improbably moves to Atlanta, breaking my heart personally because it became a lot harder to see her. It involved American Airlines, but then again, the Klein family subsidizes American Airlines, as we have again this weekend. But even moving to Atlanta, she said, well, come on down, we'll book another event down here. She meant it. She would have. I'm sorry I didn't make it for that second great event. But I will always feel affirmed by the support that she gave this very late and light author. And by the way, I have copies here if you'd like a signed copy. Because she's not here to tell you that. I will have to carry it on. So she brings us together one last time in sorrow and celebration. And the pain of missing her won't ever stop. But the acute sorrow and grief we all feel, and the shock at the passing of this force of nature, this beautiful soul, this smartest of all Kleins, that sorrow will not last forever. Love is forever. Thank you.
As we begin to close our service, I add this following reading, poem. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage. From childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. Let us all rise. I conclude with the El Mole Rachamim prayer, which includes Judy's Hebrew name, Yehudit. El Mole Rachamim, Shochein Bam Romim, Chametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Lenishmat Yehudit, Shechalacha Le'olama. Ba'al harachamim yitzror bitzror hachayim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachalata. V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava. V'nomar Amen. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest unto the soul of our beloved Yehudit, who has departed from this world. Lord of mercy, bring her into your presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be thou her possession, and may she rest in peace as she lived her whole life at peace with others and with herself. And may they rest in peace together. And we say, Amen. You may be seated.